News and Views Radio Network. In a little bit, Abby's going to play some sound of what happened last night in regards to the Fargo City Commission meeting. Commissioner Dave Pepcorn brought shall we say, a ton of passion to the debate with Fargo State Senator and builder Jim Roars. Roars Construction, you see the signs all over town. But take a listen to what Dave Pepcorn said last night.
I think he's lied to all of us. He lied to the Roosevelt Neighborhood Association. And this is it, and it's common. That's what big developers think they can get away with, and this time it's not going to happen. And so, to me, you have no credibility. I think we need to look at our options, because to me, this was all planned a long time ago. He was never going to abide by this, and now to say the costs are higher, well, gee, maybe you should have built it when you should have built it. I wouldn't believe it if this guy said the sky is blue and the grass is green. And the scary thing is his daughter's running for mayor. Imagine if 2 months from now we would have had a new mayor. Do you think we would have heard about any of this? I think it would have all gone away.
Now, those are some harsh words. Those are some harsh words that a lot of people agree with, and obviously some won't. I want you to know, before we begin this conversation, that I have extended an invitation to Jim Roars to make sure he gets an opportunity right here to say what he wants to say as well. But in the end, the man in charge when it comes to the city of Fargo, albeit not, meetings are meetings. You get to vote, you get to hold, but he's still the mayor of Fargo, and that is Mayor Tim Mahoney. Mayor Mahoney, good to have you on News and Views.
Thanks, Joel.
Now,
we had kind of an exciting meeting last night.
I've news this morning from the KFGO news team, and I'm not going to lie to you, Tim. My phone blew up last night already. It was like, holy cow! This meeting got people's attention.
Well, we'd worked really hard in the Newman Center, and we worked at the neighborhood, and Roosevelt came back and back and back, and Grinberg worked on it, and we tried and tried and tried. And they hated the fact that all the single-family housing was going out of there. So the final negotiation was key that there'd be 7 townhomes. And I don't even know why Jim Royce thinks that it wasn't part of the deal. That was the part of the deal, and those were supposed to be done by December 31st of last year. So if he had a problem, why didn't he come to us October, November, December? He could have told us there was an issue. Nope, didn't happen. And then it finally came up last night.
Well, there's a couple of things that jumped out at me. One, that you could have a debate and discussion over, which is whether you look for an extension because of the cost of things, whether it be lumber or whatever, drywall. But that being said, that's what developers do. They live or die with what the cost of things are. What really doesn't hold, and by the way, you can come for an extension far before they did, but what really doesn't hold with me is any complaining, and that's a pretty calm word to what I'd say, about traffic. I mean, everyone knows what the traffic is like there. I mean, that one wouldn't stand up with me, Mayor.
Well, no, we've done Block 9. We're doing the Bell Bank now. People have figured out how to work on the site. So when that happens, what happens is they're able to work around the site and do things that happen. The site he has where the townhomes goes, he was staging through that area, and he could have done some different options that all our big contractors do.
So was he there to get something from you, or was he called into there to get taken to the woodshed? Which one of those two is it?
Well, he had talked to Jim Gilmore, and he said he wanted an extension, and we had told him, you're going to have to talk to the commission for that because you haven't talked to us at all about this. And he thought, well, no big deal. I'll just wait 2 or 3 years. And then we talked to the Roosevelt neighborhood, and you talk about lit up. Holy cow, did that neighborhood get out? They wanted those put in there to help block some of the apartments, and that was part of the deal. So, yeah, they were very disappointed that they all of a sudden said, we'll do it in 2 or 3 years.
So what happens, though? I mean, you still don't have the townhouses. The church isn't done. What happens? I mean, what recourse do you as a city have to go back on Jim Roars?
Well, he's looking for $29,000 that he be paid this year, $140,000 he get next year. It's try to negotiate when he's going to get his TIF money. Well, he's not going to get his TIF money until the townhomes are done. Why don't we take some of that TIF money and give it back to the neighborhood and have them support different things they want to do? City of Fargo had the core neighborhood study, and we're planning on helping out in single-family homes, rehabbing, doing different things in that neighborhood itself. Why don't we take that $200,000 and give it to Roosevelt neighborhood and have them work on bringing up other projects besides these townhomes, and let's get building those townhomes.
So is there a criteria at some point you get to say, you're done? You're done. I mean, this project didn't work. You no longer have the permits that are deserved by the city of Fargo. We're going to have somebody come in and clean up this mess, but you're done.
Well, we don't want to lose the 7 townhomes. So the tricky negotiation is how do you still maintain the townhome? And if he's going to maintain some of the TIF for pilot, then it's a negotiation. But I can't see him getting any TIF money back until the townhomes are done. So it's going to be that want to keep him in the game to do the townhomes, but also the TIF money is of question. So Arlette was right last night when she said you broke contract. There's a contract broken here, and now we have to rediscuss.
Well, and to me, and I don't know where Commissioner Gehrig was, whether he just wanted a little more civility than what Commissioner Pepcorn brought to the table, but the passion that Commissioner Pepcorn had seemed to be, I don't know if it should be echoed, but you agree with what Dave Pepcorn said. Arlette Preston agrees with what Dave Pepcorn says. John Strand agrees with what Dave Pepcorn says. I mean, he doesn't have a friendly face in that room. Jim Roars doesn't.
Well, no, all the commissioners don't like the fact that he broke the contract of trust with the Roosevelt neighborhood, and that was bittersweet when they had that discussion at the time. So I think he has a lot of things that he's going to have to work on to repair any of the relationships in that neighborhood. But that's all. We didn't know all our options last night. We'll explore them, bring it back in 2 weeks, and we'll see how it goes.
So, I'm going to have to ask you this. Is this being in any way blown out of proportion, or is this a political opportunity because Shannon Roars Jones, Jim's daughter and a member of the team that's building this, is it because she's running for mayor?
This would be a problem regardless if she's running for mayor, because the developer, when we do TIFs and pilot, they have to do what they said they were going to do. And but Brett, me embellish because Dave talks about it with what her candidacy is. But there's no doubt that we'd be upset regardless if she was running, because this is something the Roosevelt neighborhood wanted. So when you see the reaction of all of the commissioners and the mayor, it's because you didn't hold up your part of the bargain. That would be a problem regardless of where we were sitting politically.
Is this a sign, in your opinion, that she's not ready to run for mayor?
Well, you have to listen to the neighborhood. If you don't listen to the neighborhood, I think you have huge problems, and she wants to be a good business relationship in the community. Boy, and there's a lot of things I'm involved with, but I make very sure I don't have conflicts and I do what I say. And that's where I think credibility comes into there. They said they would build the 7 townhomes. She's legal advisor to the corporation. What are you thinking? We've got a contract, for developer's contract with the Roars Development Company. They need to honor what they said they would do.
Okay. Fargo Mayor Tim Mahoney, anything else you want to put out?
No, Joel, we'll keep working on it, and we'll try to figure out a way for the Roosevelt neighborhood, and I'll be meeting with them later this week, and we'll start figuring out what they want to do.
Okay,
Thanks.
Thank you. And I want to extend an invitation to the Roars family again, whether it be Shannon, whether it be Jim. I don't want this to be, hey, Commissioner Pepcorn, Mayor Mahoney, Commissioner Preston, Commissioner Strand, and obviously we'll try to get word from Commissioner Gehrig as well. You can argue about whether or not words used by Dave Pepcorn are too harsh, but you know what you buy when you buy Dave Pepcorn. I mean, you do. I mean, ask Commissioner Gehrig. He's been flipped off from across the room, right? When Dave Pepcorn is mad, it's probably best you cover your kids' ears. He was mad last night. He grew up in the era of political service where you had a president in a red hat who said anything you wanted like that. And it worked. It worked for that president. Well, obviously, is this working for Commissioner Pepcorn? I don't know. I know this, that people like it when light of day is shined on and you either have an answer, yes or no. Are they wrong to not have this project done? Did they break their word with that neighborhood? I don't know how the answer, and I encourage Roars, if you come on, I'm going to ask you that question. I'm going to want to know how you didn't follow through or get done what you said you were going to get done. And I would suggest to you, if you're going to come on News and Views, do not use traffic as one of the reasons that you didn't do the project. Your thoughts, 1-800-880-5346 here on our News and Views studio line. Okay, here's the thing I want to, again, make perfectly clear. The Roars have complete access to this radio show. This is not and should not ever be a one-sided, this is what it gets said, the city commission took Jim Roars to the woodshed and he doesn't get a chance to be heard back. No, I don't know Jim Roars. I didn't serve with Jim Roars. I have met him. I've shook his hand. I've been at a wedding that he was at. I think that might be the only time I was ever really around him. I know his daughter. I know of her work. She's running for mayor. I get that. I understand it. But what I'm saying to both of them is come on the show. Otherwise, one side of a debate gets heard. That's it. And then text messages like this come. Says Joel, I don't know anything about Roars Jones, meaning Shannon, except she is Roars' attorney. This whole thing stinks. Is this the future Fargo wants? Another one, Joel, maybe Roars Development should have used some of the $4 million in PPP money they received to do what they promised. Another one, my dad said it's best over 50 years ago. When the state was complaining about the McCluskey Canal not being finished, he told the state they should have built the canal and then you can build the dam. But that's not the way they did it. Now the city of Fargo has to deal with the same situation. They should have told Roar, build the townhouses. Then you can build your little project. Do I need to take a step back and read that again? Because so far, that's the one that's got my head going up and down, up and down. Joel, this is on the mayor and the majority of the city commission. They were basically the project managers. It is May, public, finally hearing about it. What role, the project itself, did the Catholics get what they wanted? Remember, this all involved the church, right? Now, I know that the priest at the diocese there politically is a huge supporter of Jim Rohr's. I know he's very, very conservative, which that goes without saying. Most priests today are, but are they happy? Did he do a good job? Because what prompted me there was the whole construction manager. You know, if you're the Catholic diocese, you're trying to build a Newman Center. And you're trying to build a place where young Catholics on campus in the neighborhood can go to church together. Okay, so last time I drove by, nobody's going to church there. I don't know, Abby. You're in North Fargo more than I am. Did they get that done?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. In fact, last time I looked, if it rained, you're getting wet.
Yeah.
So that was supposedly part of all this. The neighborhood's a mess. It is. The neighborhood is a mess. Now, you and I also both know someone up in that neighborhood who has lived his life providing affordable housing to students and other people, while at the same time fixing people's rig whenever he could to help them out and giving them a loaner, a lot of things. And, this individual, his life was affected drastically by what they said we're going to do with that neighborhood. If you just give us a nod, give us the permit, give us the tax, we'll do this in that neighborhood. Well, I wonder how the Boltmans of the world feel now if they get to just come up and say, I told you so. This isn't all roses. So there's two things I think are illegitimate argument. Number one, the traffic. You know what the traffic was. That one makes you look foolish, just foolish to even make an argument about the traffic. The other one is building expenses, because all of us got caught by building expenses. I've got a pretty significant building project in my life. You know what? You don't just put projects on hold until building supplies go down, especially if you've made agreements, especially if you signed documents, especially you've taken advantage of certain tax provisions. You don't get to do that. And so, Jim Rohr's, here's your invitation. Explain it to the public. Good to be with you. I want to thank Derek Hansen for sitting in this chair yesterday. Abby and I got home from the honor flight last night, which was, I don't know about you, Ab, but that was a real honor for me.
It was a huge
Just
honor.
Be able to hang out with these guys. We got some great stories for you. And so some of you vets that we told, make sure you tune in at 9:05 today before you get into your double pinochle game, which one of them, is headed to at the Heitkamp. I promise we're going to get to some of these because we want to. Obviously, there's some circumstances that are going on in the world we're going to have to talk about today. No one ever wants to. Ed Schultz told me a long, long time ago. He said, if you want to hear your audience peel away, just say the word abortion. Well, you know what's going to happen because it is the big national item today, the overturn of Roe v. Wade. So that's going to have to be part of the conversation. And I guess some of you that don't like it are going to have to peel away. I get it. I understand it. So we'll talk about a little bit about that as well. Now, for those people that have joined us all over the state that didn't hear some of the first discussion that we had, what the discussion was about was a very intense Fargo City Commission meeting last night where there was a project. And the best way I can describe the project is the corner of University and 12th. So you've got the townhomes, you've got the new Newman Center, you've got all of that. And this was a project that could best be described by Jim Roars, the builder, Roars Construction. Now, last night at the meeting, Fargo City Commissioner Dave Pepcorn, and I'm going to have to replay this because we've got a whole new audience, but Jim Roars is in studio with me now, and he'll get a chance to answer the sound that we're about to hear.
I think he's lied to all of us. He lied to the Roosevelt Neighborhood Association. And this is it, and it's common. That's what big developers think they can get away with, and this time it's not going to happen. And so to me, you have no credibility. I think we need to look at our options because to me, this was all planned a long time ago. He was never going to abide by this. And now to say the costs are higher, well, gee, maybe you should have built it when you should have built it. I wouldn't believe it if this guy said the sky is blue and the grass is green. And the scary thing is his daughter's running for mayor. Imagine if 2 months from now we would have had a new mayor. Do you think we would have heard about any of this? I think it would have all gone away.
Those are pretty strong words. And I said before we bring Jim on here, I said, look, the Roars family has an opportunity to speak to this as well. He drove over here and is willing to do that. Senator Jim Roars, good to have you on News and Views.
Thank you, Joel.
You just got called a liar.
Yeah, I'm just shocked, Joel. I was totally in a state of disbelief last night when he was making those accusations against me. This project is about a $52 million project. We're about $50 million done in the project. And we got the last $2 million to go, to which we have every intention of building those townhomes. We never, ever walked away from the responsibility of building those homes. It was a matter of timing. And now the timing has fallen a little bit back behind. We're 4 months behind what we set up to do back in 2019. Okay. And for him to turn around and call me a liar and that we don't do what we say is totally, unbelievably, incredibly stupid, okay? Because we've done everything. We've done $50 million worth of work that we said we would do, and now we're down to the last $2 million, and he says we're not credible? Where's he coming from? This is so politically driven that you would have to be blind not to be able to see that the two candidates that are running against my daughter for mayor and the one candidate that's always wanted to be a mayor in this community are calling us out as being bad developers and being not reliable people when we have developed millions of dollars of assets in this town. I don't know where he's coming from. And another fact is he's saying that the Roosevelt district or the Roosevelt community is upset. I talked to the people from the Roosevelt community. They said until last Thursday, they never knew there was an issue. They never knew there was an issue. So what is bringing this up? What is making this huge, incredibly big deal of the fact that we're 4 months behind schedule on a $50 million job? And as it relates to giving extensions and working with developers, it happens every day of the year. So why all at once this one making such an issue where they would call me a liar, a cheater, and a stealer is just beyond belief, except for the fact that my daughter happens to be running against several of those people that want that office.
Okay,
so if you look at the complexion here, guys, it doesn't smell good.
So let me get a couple of things out that I want to give you a chance to address as well, though. There was word last night that look, costs have gone up, and that's what slowed this project down. That costs have gone up. Part of the argument that you heard Commissioner Pepcorn just say is maybe you should have built it sooner before costs did go up. I want to give you a chance to answer that.
Oh, absolutely. I'll answer that. So if you looked at the site, it was a very congested site, and the townhomes were a small part of the overall project. They were always intended to be the third phase. The first phase was the student housing. The second phase was the church, and the third phase was the townhomes because of the way the work had to flow on the project. And now that we've gotten to the point where we were ready to kick off the townhomes as a result of COVID and the acceleration in prices, all I was asking is let's take a pause here and let things moderate so that I could build these townhomes in a cost-effective manner. That's all I was asking. I never said I was not going to build the townhomes. They said that, okay? I never said that. Pepcorn said that. I had never had no intentions of not doing what I committed to do, okay? Pepcorn said I did this to get the money flowing. The money flowing part, getting the tax or the for-profit piece up and functioning creates the revenues to support the TIF. It has to be the first thing out of the chutes. That's the way it was designed from the beginning. As Pepcorn said, or as Jim Gilmore said, we paid $29,000 in taxes, and we got $140,000 coming due. That's the way the system works. You pay the taxes, and then you get that increment back. All I was asking for is to just delay the start of the build of the townhomes so that we could let the cost moderate and get the job done that we originally committed to do.
There were people that said that the way you did this came at the last minute, that if this project was late, if it was delayed, if you needed extra time, you should have come to the commission far sooner.
Maybe you could make that argument. These things happen all the time where projects get delayed. I never even thought about the fact that the time clock was expiring. We were working along on the project as a whole, getting things done. The church has taken a tremendous amount of time than was anticipated. However, it is also 3 times more complex and beautiful than it was ever intended to be at the beginning. So things like that just take time. And that's what we did. We gave it the appropriate time. When we get done with this project, it's going to be an absolute beautiful project from end to end. And if it takes another year to get it done, I guess when I look at a project of this size, scope, and importance within the community, let it be.
I don't want to say this into this microphone when you're not here and be afraid to say it when you are here. So I'm going to look you right in the eye and say that part of what was said to be a challenge was the traffic. You and I both know that 12th Avenue and University are busy roads, and they're always going to be busy roads. Is in any way, shape, or form traffic being used as a discussion point as to why this project is moving slower?
No, I don't believe traffic was ever brought up by anybody but Dave Pepcorn, for all I know. I don't know who brought up the traffic issue. I talked about the fact that the site was congested and it took us more time to get it done. I talked about the fact that with COVID, we have seen cost escalations beyond beyond anybody's belief. And that was the 2 reasons why I said, let's take a pause, give it a little bit of time for the pricing to come back down within line, and we'll build the project. I never said traffic caused us any more issues than we anticipated.
Okay, couple of messages from people, and I want to give you a chance to answer to these. The problem is when you agree or contract, if the price goes up, you eat it. That's a real weak argument on your part. I want to give you a chance to answer that.
You could make that argument, yeah, but this is a relationship. And when we've entered into all of these different TIFs and pilots, it's a give and take relationship. And for one person to stand there and hold a hammer over your head and say, perform now or get out, that's not the way business is normally done in these relationships. It's a give and take relationship. Right now, it happens to be a take relationship because of the political environment that we're in right now.
Now, Jim, you haven't been in a lot. I think you were in here once before when I was in here. But what happens is people send text messages in, albeit anonymously, and then they're meant to be questions or comments. So somebody wrote in and said, Jim, let's take a look at your building practices with me being in the trades. I have worked with your company in the past and had my feet held to the carpet by roars with no negotiation what to do. Costs have increased, but in our case, you didn't care. And go with the lowest bid, then screw the subs over all of it. That you get the point they're making. So I want to give you a chance to address that.
Yeah, I really can't address that. I mean, it's one of those things that, I don't know what specific instance they're talking about. Certainly, if we knew, what it was, maybe it'd be a little easier to honestly respond to that. But, in the world that we operate in, yes, we do hold people's feet to the fire. However, I believe our feet have been held to the fire here. If you look at the fact that $50 million worth of development's already done, we're down to the last little thing of 7 townhomes of $2 million project. I think we've produced.
Okay. This is something people see from the street, and, they might not always know, the this phase, that phase of construction. So this person says, if you This project, I want to make sure all the folks out in western North Dakota and eastern Montana can understand, because many of their projects involved, tax increment financing. It involves, things that get pieced together by local political subdivisions, cities, counties, those type of things to complete a project. In Fargo, you've got a project on the corner of University and 12th. And what it is it's new housing. It's town. And so it was controversial in the beginning with the Roosevelt neighborhood. It was, because it was going to put a new face on that neighborhood. And it wasn't one that the old neighbors necessarily wanted to give up their homes, right? But people saw it as a good project, or at least the Fargo City Commission did. They approved it. They go forward, and now they're mad. Jim Rohr's obviously last night being called a liar by Fargo City Commissioner Dave Pepcorn, who doesn't mince words. You've got Jim Rohr's coming into my studio today saying he is not a liar. He can't believe he's being called a liar. So you're going to have to filter all of that yourself, but some of those messages are coming in. One thing, now understand, Shannon Rohrs-Jones, state representative, is running for his daughter, I might add, running for mayor of Fargo. She is basically Rohr's Construction. He is Rohr's Construction. They're the two principal. They're the boss when they pull up, okay, in that 3/4 ton pickup, or better car than that, maybe. But they're the ones that when they pull up, it's like, okay, the boss is on the site. So that's why some people believe politics is entering into this, because Mayor Mahoney does not support, obviously he wants to beat Shannon Rohrs-Jones. And so Commissioner Pepcorn, there's a belief that he's supporting Mayor Mahoney. Now, Commissioner Pepcorn is also, or Preston, I should say, is also running for mayor. So you've got a lot of irons in this fire. And then you got John Strand, who never said a word about running for mayor or anything else. And he came out and said, look, they didn't adhere to the terms of this contract. They broke the contract. And so all of that is out there. Here's the typical messages that are coming in. Rohrs is a liar. Thanks, Pepcorn. Shannon wants mayorship to put more money in Daddy in her pocket. Shame on them. Another one. And I'm sorry, but this is not political. It's a performance fact. He didn't get them done under contract, plain and simple. He's making it political. Another one. We all know Dave Pepcorn has been an embarrassment to the city of Fargo for years. Occasionally, he's been a national embarrassment. When we come back, we are going to talk about the honor flight right after this. Back, Abigail, to a real calm Tuesday. We were on a high-speed event going on from this Saturday until yesterday when we got back into North Dakota, called the Honor Flight, the Veterans Honor Flight of North Dakota, Minnesota, and things aren't that calm today.
They're not too calm. About last night, they kind of went downhill.
Yeah, they did. I have to tell you, the word honor is used, and the reason that the word honor is used is because the men and women that were on this trip served this nation with honor, and it's time for us to honor them. But I'm going to use it one more way. I really am. It was an honor for us to be around them, to be part of it, and I think that needs to be said. I know that many of you are like, man, I wish I could. I don't have an answer for that as much as what I just feel real fortunate that I got to. And Abby, this is your first honor flight. I mean, what impression did it leave with you?
It was so amazing to see all of the memorials and monuments, but I think seeing them like tell their stories from their days back when they were active, and the banquet night, which I know Jane Matichek has talked about a million times with us, but until you're there and see them open those letters from their family and friends and loved ones, that was tough. And I know Jane said it would be, but it really was. And seeing them, I know something that got me too was when they would stand up to salute. And like Larry, who you were pushing, I saw him stand up at Arlington
at the Tomb of the Unknown.
At the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, and he was in a wheelchair almost the entire weekend. But to see him stand up and a bunch of the other veterans there, that was a pretty big impact on me, and seeing them just get right back into it.
Larry was the commander at the Hatton American Legion for years. Always was one of the individuals carrying a flag at every gravesite when needed to be for that military honor. And when he said, when I saw that, I didn't care how bad my leg hurt. And you notice he didn't use his cane. He got up and he just stood there and saluted the flag. And you're right. Those Madison Quinn was on this trip as well, and you'll see some of Madison's work because, quite frankly, he's amazing at it in our new video department that we've started. Madison, your thoughts on the trip?
I thought it was, life-changing, honestly. It really happened fast for me on Friday where there's an opportunity for me to get on where another person couldn't be, and I jumped at the opportunity. And I just want to compare it to, how you visit D.C. yourself, you see the sights. It's a different thing when you're there with those guys, those veterans, and some of them seeing it for the first time themselves. It's very emotional. I got emotional at the Tomb of the Unknown. The most emotional I got was at the ending, the when we got back. I obviously have never been on one of these, but I was expecting, 50 to 75 people there, but it's like the whole community showed up to honor these guys and welcome them back. And as I was shooting video on our way back, and I'm just crying while I'm trying to shoot video, and it's like these guys deserve the world, and I hope they felt that this weekend.
I just want to, there's always unique stories that go along with this as well. The three of us, we're crowded into those seats. Poor Abby's in between two big guys. Started calling her peanut butter or jelly, whatever you want to be called, because she was sandwiched in. But Dwayne Langenberger and Max Olson were two of the individuals that were behind us. To say they're feisty, would that be an understatement?
The stories we were hearing from them on that plane were entertaining.
They were rapping us on the back of the head saying, hey, that type of thing. But Dewey's one of the double-deck pinochle players over at the Umcumps, and then Max is one of the bridge players that goes over there. But just, these weren't young men, but they still got plenty of spunk. They're still there.
Their mind was young.
Yeah. Who's this Canute fella that I saw you guys
I miss Canute. I miss so many of them. I mean, I think Madison and you too. I mean, I feel like I made so many close friends on this trip. Canute, I actually met him at our first stop at Fort McHenry, and he was walking by himself. So I went and started bugging him. He was 94. You would not think that.
There's no way.
He wasn't walking. He was like running almost.
He was like running.
He had a headband on, ladies and gentlemen, the whole weekend. I mean, and he didn't care if his hair
It was
ever got cold.
like a sweatband headband. And his hair he was so entertaining and funny.
Windblown. Let's use that.
He did take it off once. I asked him about it.
He put a hat on.
We were down we went down for the banquet on Saturday night, and we're used to seeing Canute in this Nike headband of his, and so he swings by and I don't see his headband, so I'm like, Canute, where's your headband? He's like, oh, this is my formal look. His hair's the same as if you took the headband off too.
The headband's just removed.
Well, they take at the World War II memorial, folks. They take a picture of everyone. They line them up, wheelchairs, and in the back. And
most of them wear their hats.
Abby was, because they all have that honor flight cap. They've all got that maroon honor flight shirt. I mean, it is just so overwhelming when you see it. And you were lobbying Canute, don't wear the hat. You got to wear the headband. I don't
it's
remember.
Your look.
What did he wear?
He wore his headband.
He did?
Photo, yeah. I took a video zooming in on him with the headband. He sticks out a bit. But no, there were so many great guys on the trip.
Here's the thing, folks. Neither Madison, Abby, or me are trying to ignore certain names, and I'm sorry if we don't use those names because there's a lot of people went on.
I started making a list of all of the people that I talked to the most.
And for me, I got to meet George Grinberg and his son, who was there.
Was fun.
And George had plenty of spunk. Now, George, there's a story there with Luther Bierke. Now, a lot of you are going to, by the way, George Grinberg, not all life has been easy for George, too. Did you guys pick up? I mean, his son-in-law is Dan Wogsley.
Yeah.
I mean, that's enough right there to say a lot.
But he was, I don't know who's more smiley, Dan Wogsland or George.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
George had a smile on his face that entire trip.
Always. Anyway, George and Luther Bierke. Now, a lot of you are going to remember that name, Luther Bierke. The wild Norwegian.
He's a hoot.
Oh, just talented
best.
Man still.
I don't think he ever stopped talking.
He can talk your ear off.
Yep.
Yeah,
Now, you had a chance to interview these two men. What was the hook between them?
Yeah, so Saturday night, the banquet, everyone was together, and it was wrapping up. People were kind of clearing out of the banquet hall.
Well, it was Sunday night after mail call.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. And mail call. So, mail call happens. And so George is there with his son. I forgot his son's name. And, they call each veteran's name so they can get their mail and some letters from people saying thank you, that kind of thing. And so George hears Luther's name, and he asks his son, what was that name again? And his son's like, Luther Bierke. And George was like, Luther Bierke? I haven't seen him in 75 years. And so it was insane. And so George ended up trying to find Luther, and they found it. Apparently, haven't seen each other for 75 years. They actually went to drove from basic training to each other, drove all the way down to Texas, I believe, together, and they served together and that kind of thing. They came home together as well, and they went their separate ways and just didn't see each other for 75 years, and they don't live that far apart.
No.
So, I mean, all smiles from those two when they saw each other. And the stories,
they would not stop talking.
Just get, do you remember? And then he's like, yes, I remember. Remember when we pulled latrine duty because we were being a little naughty?
Those two never.
Those two peeled a potato or two, is what you're telling me. I'm going to share with you three men. Okay, three men, ladies and gentlemen. One's name is David. As soon as I get my readers, Abby's like always pointing to me. Here they are. One's name is David. He said, I grew up and called Hatton, North Dakota home. I enlisted in the Army where I served from February 56 and stayed in through January 58. After graduating from basic in Fort Chaffee, Arkansas, I was stationed in Germany. My main duty was working as a motor pool mechanic. Helping form a drum and bugle band is one of my favorite memories of my time with the military. After the Army, I farmed for 60 years before retiring. My marvelous wife and I were married in 1959. We proudly raised 3 children who then blessed us with 3 grandchildren. I'm a member of the American Legion Post 70. That man's name is David Holter. Now, this man's name is Neil. I was born and raised in Hatton, North Dakota, now called Park Rapids, Minnesota home. I was drafted into the Army in September of 61 and discharged 2 years later in September of 63. I spent basic training at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. Afterward, I was assigned to Fort Hood, Texas, and then later Fort Carson, Colorado. this individual goes on to say, after the Army, I was a student before later becoming self-employed. Post-military, I married my beautiful wife, Carol. Together, we have 2 children, 6 grandsons. During my free time, I love to golf. I'm a member of the American Legion. One more. All right. This individual's name is Rick. Well, his real name's Paul, but everybody calls him Rick. He said, I grew up in Hatton, North Dakota, and still call the area home today. I joined the Army in 59 and remained in through 61. After graduating from basic training in Fort Riley, Kansas, I was assigned to Company A, 168th Engineering Battalion out of Essling, Germany. I worked building Class 60 floating rafts and served at the company commander as the company commander's driver. Building those bridges with fellow comrades was the best time. After the Army, I worked at General Motors, farmed, and worked for the city of Hatton. In 1966, I married my fantastic, now understand, his wife, I don't know if that's better than beautiful, fantastic wife, Gail. We have 4 children, 7 grandchildren. I've enjoyed fishing, working for local farmers during my retirement. Now, those 3 gentlemen that I just described are the Holter brothers. All 3 of them brothers that made this trek together. The one from Park Rapids wasn't to be on this, but they begged the organizers, let us take our brother. They had another brother from Wyoming, which is outside of the territory that Honor Flight can go to bring someone in. But, of course, the Minnesota connection worked on the Park Rapids. So I start visiting with these guys. Maddie and I do.
The Hatton boys, yeah.
And I start talking, all right, which one of you is the oldest, right? Well, the oldest of all 3 of these is Neil. Neil, the one that lives in Park Rapids. But before Neil got there, I said to the 2, David and Rick, before we found Neil to do an interview with all these guys, I said, all right, who's the youngest? Rick says, I am. I looked at David. I said, you ever pick on him? Did you guys ever beat him up? Oh, yeah. Look at those ears. You know what his brother did? Rick goes, I'm going to tell you what his brother, my brother grabbed my ears with the pliers and he wouldn't let go, right? So then his brother comes over, and Neil's kind of, would you say, Maddie, kind of the calm one?
Yeah, definitely.
The less words, the better with Neil.
Yep.
So I said to Neil, so you grabbed the pliers and pulled on his ears until he said uncle. He said, oh, he didn't say uncle. I said, but you pulled on his ears with, well, look at them ears. And Rick just laughed. These are still, all these years later, 3 brothers that if one of them called and said, I need you here tomorrow, they'd be there tomorrow. How cool is that?
That's awesome. It's awesome. And we have, again, I'll be cutting up that video and we'll have, that full interview and many other interviews, especially one I actually, yesterday, when we stopped at World War II, I got about 30 minutes with Harry, the World War II veteran from Fergus Falls. And
he was the only one, right? Only World War II vet?
Yep, yeah. Harry Schulson, 100 years old. And he talked about where he was when he heard about Pearl Harbor. And then after that, immediately trying to get into the Army and serve, and talked about his wonderful wife and his grandchildren. 2 of his grandsons were accompanying him on the trip. And, he also dropped a lot of World War II, kind of what they were feeling back then, why he thought they won the war, the success. He thought it was really awesome that, at home it was, all hands on deck.
Sure.
So
the other thing I'll add, and I'm going to get to weather in just a second. The other thing I will add is you realize how good men and women like this raise good men and women. Because spending as much time with Larry as what I did, what ends up happening, folks, is these guys aren't where you're at with your cell phones. They're not, hey, I'll text this out, I'll tweet this out, hey, snap this picture, I'll send it to Adonica, that type of a thing. So I started, and Larry was, he's legally blind. He's getting a service dog soon, and he didn't walk very well. And so it was an honor to be able to be with Larry. I said, Larry, just give me your phone and I'll just start text. And then he wasn't great at working his phone. So then I'm like, just give me your number, right? So I start sending pictures to some of these people. And you had to say the same thing to them, which is do not send me a thank you every time. Because they appreciated it so much. Yeah. They really did. And it was like, look, there'll be a bunch more coming. Yeah. But yesterday when we brought him home, I got such a Larry's daughter teaches in the Wahpeton public school system. He went to Wahpeton so his daughter could help him and his wife. And she gave me a hug. There's just so much love in that family.
Yep.
That's what we learned. That's all. Your videos are going to be up, an hour or so?
Yeah. Actually,
you have how much footage?
Actually, every day it took about 2 hours to get my footage off my card. So actually today I'm hoping to have a full photo gallery done. So I'll share those today. Videos to come probably at least by the beginning of next week.
Okay. When you're done, let us know.
Yep.
So we can make sure people know. Great time. Good traveling with you two, too. By the way, you can learn to buy when it's your time. Never mind. Let's get to the weather cave and visit with Too Tall Tom. Tom?
Variable cloudiness across the region today.
About the honor flight, I believe this is Dewey. Dewey Langenberger. This is the guy that plays double deck pinochle.
Was he behind us on the plane?
He was behind. He was the one that was
Oh
flicking your head.
no! Yeah.
Dewey, how you been, bud?
I'm doing fine.
What have you played cards already today, or how's this going?
No, tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
And Dave says he's going to be there too.
Okay, good. So, in the 30 seconds or so I have left here, what is it like when you turn the corner? You see all those kids with the flags and people and the bands and the honor guards, and what is that like?
I'll tell you what they pulled off at the airport last night was wonderful.
Yeah.
The band and I couldn't believe the civilian people, you'd call them, that were on hand to wave us to meet us, and they had to wait quite a while for us because it took a while to unload that plane.
Yeah, it was.
Then they held us upstairs, and then we didn't know why, but then they turned us loose, and down we went, and what a awesome thing.
Yep. Dewey Langberg, one of the special ones, folks. One of the special ones. Here of how to make sure that you veterans can get to a Bison game from Alan Christensen. Here's the number, 701-899-2578. That's 899-2578. Give him a call. But I will also add this. We'll get Alan on closer to football season.
Alana Christensen.
Hold on.
She's from the Wapaton area.
I didn't get this one wrong.
No,
I want my glasses.
The text, it broke up into two texts.
I want my glasses.
Okay, and then you'll see that it says Alana, and then the A is on the next text.
Oh, Alana A. Christensen. So it's Joel Heitkamp.
Alana Christensen. She's from my home area. I know
this
Alana.
one isn't as bad as some of mine.
No.
They've been worse. I mean, can we acknowledge that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah. Alana's been great with her Bison tickets. I know she's done that in the past.
You want to see how small the world is?
Yeah.
Okay. So one of my best friends in media for a long time, I don't think he's going to get mad if I say this. Do you?
I love when you put that as a precursor.
It's like buying insurance.
Yeah. They're not going to get mad.
They're not going to get mad if I say this. And one of the best writers that North Dakota is ever going to have, and a damn good substitute talk show host if he'd ever get his butt to Fargo-Moorhead. Tony Bender. You guys are all familiar with his work. Anyway, he said Gary is one of the best grandpas that you could ever have. He's a good man. And so Tony would know because that's his children's grandpa. So there. Oh man, the emotions of people that were lined up at the airport, the job that they did, it's just absolutely fabulous. People just talking about, in regards to what people have done in terms of turning out and supporting these veterans. I will go back to 1978 when my mom was in Rochester helping my grandma out who was sick, her and her sister Mimri going down there a lot. And my father was working for Northern Improvement at that time in the Noonan-Crosby area. And I thought I had the world made because I was the only Heitkamp kid left in the house. And I didn't know that Pat Pitts right next to us had been recruited, enlisted to be the one that rats me out. And quite frankly, to this day, Pat, you're a good person for doing that because I needed watching. And so she was just a sweetheart of a neighbor that the parents could count on if they had to get away. That being said, an Army recruiter came to my house, and I'll never forget this. I was going to go into the half of my senior year. They were offering you college if you went in and you'd graduate from high school if you went in the second half of your senior year. Two of my best friends from Manador did that, and they never regret it to this day. And I had signed up. I was doing it. The recruiter was there, and Pat called, not because she didn't think I should. She called Dad to just say what was going on, that there was an Army recruiter at the house. Dad wasn't scheduled to come home that weekend, but he did. He looked at me and said, "You're not doing it." I said, "No, Dad. Pays for all your college. My buddies are doing it. I'm doing it. You're not doing it." And this is a man who fought in World War II, was there when the bomb was dropped in the Pacific Theater. And I'm like, why? And he said, because this country doesn't know how to treat its soldiers. He was so mad. So till his dying day, he was so mad about how the Vietnam vets were treated when they came back. And if my dad would have seen that last night, if he would have just seen it last night, I think he would have come back and said, you know what? This country's got its act together. Looking back, there's very few things in life that I ever say, I wish I would have done that different. And that's one I wish I would have spent more time talking to him. But the way he said no, I don't think there was ever going to be a way of turning his mind around. When we come back, we're going to talk about political right after this. Politico broke the big story that the Supreme Court is moving to or has already voted to overturn Roe v. Wade. Now, when I first started doing talk radio, the man that trained me in at this job was a guy named Ed Schultz, which anyone who remembers that name, and it's been a lot of years now since Ed has passed. I shouldn't say a lot of years, but it's been years since Ed has passed, knows that Ed was probably, if not, well, he was the best one ever to sit in this chair. He's the best one ever to do talk radio in this market, and I could make an argument anywhere that he brought a lot of passion to it. He got people fired up, and he didn't care whether you liked him or not. He just said it, and then you reacted to it, and then pretty soon the phone lines were going. And there's just a lot there about Ed Schultz that I learned from. Excuse me. Well, the one thing I learned from Ed was that if you want to hear listeners drop off, use the word abortion. I mean, use the word abortion, and you're going to see listeners peel off. Now, you can't avoid that today. You can't. Judge Samuel Alito from the Supreme Court has written a draft opinion. I shouldn't say draft, one that they're still cleaning up, overturning Roe v. Wade, and he has 5 votes to do it. And so they're basing it off a case where it makes abortion illegal, and they're giving it back to the states to determine whether or not it's illegal. So, you know, I'm going to say some things. Many of you aren't going to like them, but I'm going to say them, and you can react to them. I find it really interesting that I'm a man, and I'm going to tell you exactly what I think. And many of the people that send in text messages or call in, if they so choose, are going to be men. And so for all of you individuals that say, you know, I'm sick of the argument that men don't have a say in all this, that's our baby too, take it. I mean, you don't want to have that conversation. You use words like, I'll pay child support, right? You don't say, look, I want the baby. I will take the baby. Some of you do, but you're in the minority. So let's keep that in mind. Now, what Alito and the conservatives on the court are doing here is making abortion illegal, even in cases of rape, incest, even in cases of a doctor looking at the mother and having a conversation with her in private, as doctors and mothers do, about how she has 4 more kids to raise and how this one might cost her her life. And so this one, whether it's unwanted or not, is not one that she should carry to full term, and that this one is not in any way, shape, or form, in many cases, a child that is going to live beyond the womb. I mean, we can go down list after list after list, but the one thing that we consistently find is men determining what women can do with their body. That's the one thing that we consistently find. Now, people are saying, who leaked this out? Because it is leaked. You know, this came out far before the ruling itself is going to come out. So who leaked it out? I would argue it was a conservative that leaked it out. It was a member of or a clerk of one of the conservative judges. I don't know that. Neither do you. Neither do you if it's one of the liberal judges. What you do know is this. You do know it got leaked out. The reason that I'm arguing it's a conservative is because if you're a liberal, you don't want this playing out on the steps of the Supreme Court as it is doing right now. You want the opportunity to try to convince one more justice, maybe a Justice Kavanaugh, that perjured himself if he votes to overturn Roe v. Wade. You might want an opportunity to turn one of them your way and put the court back to at least 5-4 where you can retain Roe v. Wade. And so that's it. As far as Roe v. Wade goes, it's over. As far as a woman's right for a legal abortion, it's over. It's done. Once this ruling goes out, abortion is illegal in those states where they determine it will be illegal. Now, let me ask you this. If the belief is that you're terminating a human life, that you're literally murdering someone, which people believe, then why is it that the court is going to determine that it should go back to the state? Murder is murder, whether it happens in California or North Dakota. Murder is murder. And so if you truly believe that, then why? Why wouldn't it then be found to be illegal? Now, here's the biggest part. And what's going to happen is North Dakota already has a book on the law that's completely dependent on the decision about to be made. So abortion is going to be illegal in the Dakotas. And I realize many of you are high-fiving saying, great, that's what we worked at. This is what we wanted. But did you ever look at what that means? And don't kid yourself. If you go to the very church that drove this, if you go to the very church that led the charge against a Roe v. Wade, it's the Catholic Church, a church that I've been a member of, a church that I was raised in. It's the Catholic Church. Now, ask the Catholic Church what their opinion is on contraceptive, on the pill. What's their opinion on the pill? Their opinion on the pill is that it's wrong. It's illegal. It should be banned. There should be a law against the pill. I mean, how about the day after? Right? How about that? That their decision is it should be illegal. So for many of you women and men out there that think this is an absolutely great ruling, I want to ask you if you've used the pill. I will tell you this. My wife and I have. We didn't use it in the beginning, probably the way we should have, or something happened. All I know is we had Ashley pretty quick, and we're proud of it, of the fact that we had Ashley. We didn't make a decision to terminate the pregnancy. And we are very blessed that Ashley's part of our family and will always be part of our family. But that was our choice. That was a decision we made. I don't know what facts are going on in other people's lives. I don't know if they've been raped. Have you seen some of the quotes of some of the idiots that are out there saying we don't have to worry about rape because a woman cannot conceive from merely being raped? Just the stress of it alone won't allow her to get pregnant. Have you seen some of the comments out there about incest and how, look, those are family issues that shouldn't justify or be allowed to bring in an issue in regards to that 13, 14-year-old carrying that baby to full term? Have you seen some of the comments out there in regards to a woman whose life is being threatened and won't be there to raise the child or the children she's already had? Comments like, that's the sacrifice that she needs to pay. The ultimate sacrifice in regards to that baby. So how did we get to here? A lot of people like myself aren't afraid to have Ruth Bader Ginsburg be part of that conversation. I think Ruth Bader Ginsburg should have got off the court, and the court would still be at 5-4 when it comes to the issue. I think she knows she was sick. I think that she had the opportunity with the Democratic president in Barack Obama to step aside. She didn't. So we can talk about that all day, but that we can't change. What we do know is this has been a goal of the Republican Party for years, and that makes a lot of you happy. And so be it. That's how you voted. You voted for this change. Well, now you have it. You have it, and you have it on a court that will reverse any action if the case is brought to you any time, shape, or manner. That's how conservative this court is. And it's there for the length of their life. That's how long it's there. And if you think the Republicans aren't better than this at the Democrats had what? 9, 10 months to get Merrick Garland on the court and the majority? And they couldn't pick that fight? I'm not sure if they had the majority. I want to back up on that. But, and they couldn't, Harry Reid couldn't pick that fight? And here we sit using words like filibuster and what happens? Ruth Bader Ginsburg dies, and within weeks, Amy Coney Barrett ends up on the court. Within weeks. After Mitch McConnell says there is no justice that should go on in an election year, which is what he used to keep Merrick Garland off that court. So what about if you go back in and you find the comments that were made during the hearings to be perjury? What are the ramifications that go along with that? What are the ramifications that go along with a Supreme Court justice's wife being involved in an insurrection? What ramifications does Clarence Thomas have with that? With being part of a conversation to overthrow the government of the United States when he gets home and closes the door? Because Lord knows he's entitled to privacy when he closes that door. The woman isn't entitled to privacy when she closes the door. They're not entitled to decisions that affect their body. Now, here's something else from the political side. Here is something that I think the Republicans need to take a step back. While they celebrate tonight, while they high five tonight, and they realize that, oh my God, we won the big one. The money's coming in. Well, I don't know that it will. That fight's over. That fight's over. What you used as one of the biggest dividers in this country was never as big of a divider as you thought it was. You just wanted to keep it out there in front of people. In some form or another, over 70% of Americans support the right for a woman to have an abortion. Over 70% of Americans in some form or another support that right. And that just changed. That just changed. Thank you to this Supreme Court. The other thing about this Supreme Court is the dignity of that third body, that third branch of government that is there to bring common sense into government, to bring the people back into government, and to bring outrageous legislation to be thrown in the scrap heap. That's done. That's over. What do you think is going to happen when somebody brings a case to the Supreme Court saying that a same-sex couple has the right to marry? What do you think is going to happen? If Mississippi or North Dakota, which is really the Mississippi now of the North, if North Dakota brings that case forward to the Supreme Court and says, we believe that we should make same-sex marriage illegal. I mean, these are federal. What if somebody, let's take it to another step. If you completely believe in state rights, if you believe the state should have that right, what if you're Mississippi and you believe that we should still have slavery and you could care less if California has banned slavery? You don't care. That's fine. Go live your life where you want in California. But we're keeping slavery. We fought a war over that. We fought a war over that. This is a direct result on a president, I should say, of a president who never loved anything about this country but himself. And this country, after this decision, is going to blow up. And for you Republicans out there who think this is nothing but great political news, remember that I just said it isn't for you. And a year from now, I'm going to use this sound, if I'm still in this chair, and play it back to you and remind you that while you were popping champagne corks because you took away a woman's right to choose, that it probably was the worst political decision you ever made because America had moved on from Roe v. Wade. Let's get to the weather cave and visit with Too Tall Tom. Tom?
All right, we got some cloud.
take calls first here on the News and Views Radio Network. Let's get to Trent. Trent, you're on News and Views.
Hello.
Hello.
See, I was just curious. It sounded like we were jumping all over talking about slavery and fought a war over that. But what does that have to do with the unborn child?
It has to do with the argument of rights of an individual. Trent, that's the tie. No different than Trent. Let me ask you this: have you been vaccinated?
No, I have not.
Well, then you explain to me. Explain it to me, because nobody forced you to get vaccinated, right? That's the rights over your body.
So it's my rights over my body
to choose what happens to it.
So what about the unborn child? It does not have a voice, obviously, does it?
The key word.
Basically, you're saying that we have a right to murder. Women have a right to murder. Okay. Is that what you're saying?
So if you believe it's murder, then do you believe in cases of rape and incest and life of the mother? It's murder.
It's still a baby, isn't it?
So you do. Your argument is consistent. Then you're saying if a woman gets raped and she's pregnant and she has an abortion, it's murder.
It is.
Okay. Then you're consistent, Trent. You're wrong, but you're consistent. Good riding with you, folks.